I bought Undertale back in 2020 with the intention of beating it in every possible way, and I've barely started a run. I watched one or two Undertale gameplays in the past, but at this point, I didn't remember a lot of the game components or characters. But it was time I completed a full pacifist run in Undertale. I'm not allowed to kill anything, and I have to do my best to survive with the limiting XP I had. This video contains major spoilers, so if you don't want those, click away. Here was my run. But before we get into that, turns out only 1% of my viewers are subscribed. 1! So please make sure to hit that button below and make sure you're subscribed. I started the game by gracefully falling down a hole into the monster's world. My first encounter was with a flower. He explained the basics of XP and love, which stands for the opposite of what you think it does, and subtly tried to murder me with love pellets to capture my soul.
Hey buddy.
To my rescue was Mama Toriel, knocking Flowey out of the way and guiding me back to her home.
Mama Toriel!
But first, she asked me to be nice to every creature I face underground, so I practiced talking nicely to this dummy. After that, I went further down the path to find a Frogget, which I declined to fight. I told him how cute his smile was instead. I do my best to avoid his rather weak attack, and then I ask him to spare me, which he obliges. Later on the path, I came across a new monster. His name was Napstablook.
It's the Napstablook!
I spent some time flirting and cheering him on.
Yeah!
I convinced Napstablook to move and came across a Lux who caught me off guard, and I died for the first time in the run.
I died? This is so lame.
But that's okay, because now I get to see Napstablook again. I finally got to the ruins at the end of the path, and I saved and went inside. Toriel gave me my own bedroom, and told me that I would be staying here with her now. After some exploring, I asked her how I could leave the ruins and go back to my home. In response, she sprung up and ran downstairs urgently. After catching up to her, I find she came to destroy the exit of the ruins to prevent me from leaving. She claimed the king would kill me if he found me. I persisted anyway, and she asked me to fight her to prove I could make it on my own. I continued to ask her to spare me, and she finally gave in. I was told not to come back. Despite this, I continued on, and ran into Flowey outside of the ruins.
Oh my god. Not very chill of you, dude.
I trudged through the snow, and it seemed someone was behind me.
Uh-oh.
This is Sans. He's tasked with killing humans, but doesn't really care for the job.
Oh, word.
Then I met his brother Papyrus, who has the same task, but is much more enthusiastic about it.
All you do is sit and boondoggle.
Sans and Papyrus meet me again, and they discuss how I actually may be a rock.
Oh.
It's time to be served puzzle 1 with the side of skeleton bickering. The puzzle was solved after Papyrus crossed to give me the kill device. I simply followed his footsteps back. After admiring the pile of spaghetti by the mouse hole, I came across a warning.
Dog marriage.
I was greeted by 2 dogs wielding axes. I believe this was the dog wedding I was warned of. To get past peacefully, I had to roll in the dirt, so I smelled like another dog and let them sniff me. Unfortunately, that was a lot easier said than done. After finally figuring it out on my 5th try, they spare me, and I get to move on. I completed a few more puzzles for Papyrus, and he promised this one would be the one to trip me up. It was a color maze. It ended up being a hilariously easy combination. A few more steps down the road was this nice rock. Dog. It's a dog. He was actually a big pushover and just wanted some pets, so after his wish was granted, I was spared and able to move on. I was finally unbeatable in Papyrus's trap on the bridge, but he decided that it was too easy and wouldn't gain enough respect doing it this way. I came across a merchant in Snowdon who sold me a handful of bicycles for the road ahead. Do you get it? Do you get it? After that, I spent some time conversing in town.
I guess. Is that like a baby bunny that you got on a leash, or is that like a different species? Because I'm very confused.
At the edge of the town, there was a great fog, but I decided to continue anyway. I ran into Papyrus, who explained to me that he was finally going to fight me and capture my soul for good. He would finally be led into the royal guard for the king once I was captured.
Flirt with him. I love you. I have 0 redeeming qualities. Please marry me.
I informed him politely that I would make spaghetti, and he concluded that we must stop fighting and go on a date someday. In the meantime, he tried locking me in his doghouse.
Ain't no way you put me in the doghouse.
I approached him again and was weirded out by his strange habits.
Papyrus dabs marinara sauce. Hold up.
This resulted in another trip to the doghouse. I approached Papyrus a third time, but was left in the doghouse again. But he cannot keep me satisfied with minor culinary upgrades. I met him the fourth time with the aspiration of becoming friends. After that, I continued on.
Oh yeah, get to skedaddling, bro. What was that?
I found Sans at the waterfall with his illegal hot dog stand, and he invited me to go to the saloon with him for some lunch. I agreed, and we sat down and got to chatting.
Have you ever heard of a talking flower? What the hell? Okay.
He explained to me that his brother had been talking to this weird flower, which he assumed was an echo flower, but it was actually a golden flower. After we finished up, I was in town, so I stopped by to see Papyrus for that date we'd talked about.
Look, whose sink is this, bruh? I know you're kidding me right now. Nobody's washing their hands in that. That's Slenderman's sink, dude.
After I roasted his kitchen sink, we started the date.
Wowie. I do too, wow. Can I do this in real life?
The objective here is to pick the most flirtatious option and fill up the date meter.
Oh,
But he reveals to me that he's not actually interested.
Yes, how could you have done this to me? How could you have led me on like this, Papyrus?
Back at the waterfall, I dodged some rocks and I listened in on a conversation between Papyrus and Undine, the head of the royal guard. He tells her that he failed to capture me.
No.
Undine thought she saw me rustling in the bushes and prepared to attack, but then backed off. As I traveled further, I ran into Aaron.
Oh. Okay. How many abs is that?
After politely squeezing by, I later ran into Washua.
Who is this?
I was no match for Washua's attack, and he shattered my soul, but I was full of determination, so I ventured on. I solved the lily pad puzzle after a few minutes of struggle and got a call from Papyrus. Whew! The door led me to the wishing room. The monsters used to make wishes on the stars in the sky, but now that they are locked underground, they are forced to make their wishes to fake stars plastered on the ceiling of this room. I walked straight into a museum-type room that explained the war between the humans and the monsters. Human souls are exponentially stronger than the monster souls, so the monsters were betrayed and confused by the humans' attack. The human soul is so powerful, in fact, that it would also thrive inside of a monster body. But if a monster were to use the human soul, they would possess ridiculously dangerous power. After this, I ran into Undine again, and this time she challenged me. I ran to the edge of the bridge while she shot me with spears. I escaped into a tall patch of grass. I got away that time.
Oh, is he okay? Wait. No, dude, I'm good.
I continued on down the path and listened to a lot of echo flowers repeat the conversation of the monsters that were here once before. They're about to make their wishes, but one of them thinks their wish is truly unattainable. While passing through, I ran into a very strange octopus.
Oh my god.
I briefly spoke to the octopus and did my best to slowly inch towards the door while it was speaking. After escaping the talking octopus, I ran into a Shiren.
Who is that fella?
Who made pretty quick work out of me.
Oh no.
I'm just mad because I have to meet the octopus all over again.
You toe licker?
I was spared by the Shiren the second time around and found myself walking down a rainy hallway with this very strange child.
You look like you chew on pencil erasers, dog.
He did let me on his shoulders to bypass the cliff though, so I'll give him that.
The third time those kids falling on this face. Listen, they made an animation for that and they laughed at it so hard that they were like, yeah, we gotta put this in 3 separate times, guys.
There was some more lore on the cliffside, and I learned that the humans attacked because they feared one of the monsters, but it was a landslide victory for the humans as the monsters just weren't strong enough. The humans used a magic spell to trap all of the monsters underground behind the barrier. Although it seems I escaped Undyne, I hadn't outrun her just yet. She was back again, hitting harder this time. I was tasked with completing a maze while she attacked me with her spears, but once I finally reached the end, I faced her. She cut the bridge in half, leaving me falling through the air. I woke up in a flowery patch that looks like the sewers. I came across an old training dummy and didn't think much of it. Apparently, he was very upset with me. I gave it a good shot, but ended up dying to the dummy.
Ain't no way. No.
The dummy was passionately upset.
All over the dialogue box. Bro is tweaking out right now.
But the dummy was taken out. Not by me, but a cloud of acid rain. Napster Blook saved the day with his acid rain cloud. After the fight was over, he invited me to his place to hang with him. I could never turn down Napster Blook.
The CD is labeled Ghoul a Day Music. Play it? Yes. Okay, this one's kind of mid, Napster Blook. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Right around the corner was another room of lore drop explaining the barrier. To get the rest of the lore, I have to navigate this big maze in the dark. Not the easiest task. While I was in the maze, I was jumped by an Aaron Washua combo and died to Aaron's amazing biceps. But I persevered. The maze was actually a trap leading me right to Undyne. She explained why the king wants me dead. But Brain Rot Child saved the day again with his inability to read a room. This allows me enough time to escape and enter back into the wishing room. The wishing monster revealed that their embarrassing wish was to escape the underground and see the world above them. The other monster had the same wish. This kid is clinging to me tighter than spandex, and we run into each other again on a bridge where he starts to slip and fall.
Here. Undyne. Step on his fingers.
I know that the game was implying that I was supposed to save the kid, but I turned and ran anyway. I do not care for the child. See? Undyne saved him anyway. It only took a few steps before I was facing the entrance to the Hotlands, but above me was Undyne.
Tell me the story, Undyne. I need to hear it.
Her attacks are a little bit different from the others. I'm given a shield, and I'm supposed to block her rapidly approaching spears from 4 different directions. In the pacifist run, I am meant to flee from Undyne rather than asking her to spare me, but I didn't catch on to that before I died 6 times.
Oh my god!
I finally escaped on try number 7 when I got a phone call from Papyrus. Despite this, I finally escaped into the Hotlands.
Oh my god.
It was too hot here for Undyne, so I gave her some water, and she left me alone.
Seeing such a strange laboratory in a place like this, you're filled with determination. We love women in STEM. Yes, that does fill me with determination.
I continued on as there was a huge lab before me. I walked inside the dark lab and was greeted by a scientist. This is Dr. Alphys.
Oh! Look who it is!
Here, she claimed that she wanted to help me on my journey to leave the underground, but she previously made a human hunting robot to destroy me. But of course, it shows up right on cue. This is Mettaton. Mettaton's first attack is a trivial game show. He asks questions mostly about the game. If you get them all right, you don't get hurt. The catch is that Alphys is on your side and gives you the answers each time. I didn't catch on to this my first go around. This came to an end once Dr. Alphys chimed in to answer one of the questions and Mettaton caught on to her cheating. So he humiliates her by revealing her secret crush.
Undyne.
After Mettaton left, Alphys gave me her phone number and I was on my way.
Okay, well that was silly. That was silly, Goofy.
She continues to blow my phone up with her annoying status updates. I later ran into a Vulcan and during his attack, I was killed. This means I have to go back and fight Mettaton all over again. I made sure to get past the Vulcan the second time. To traverse through the Hotlands, I had to do these little steam vent arrow things. That was a slight inconvenience. I approached a 3-way path. On the left and right are puzzles that I need to complete before the door opens on the top. They were pretty simple.
Loved it. I'm impressed. You must be a total nerd? Okay.
I entered the northern doors to a short path on the other side, and it took me to a kitchen set.
Oh.
I had just entered Metaton's second attack. The premise? A cooking show attack. And we're supposed to make a cake. But the catch was that one of the ingredients was a human soul, so they would have to kill me to make the cake. Alphys phones in and suggests a non-human ingredient, and Metaton is open to this idea. But it's never as simple as it sounds. I have no idea where the tall kitchen trend came from in the underground, but I need to use a jetpack built into my phone to reach the top of the counter. I successfully made it to the top, and Metaton admitted his defeat, and I was let go. I took the elevator to my next destination, Sans' hot dog shop. After my detour, I continued solving puzzles and being mildly annoyed by Alphys. While I was on what I thought was a peaceful stroll, I ran into 2 royal guards who told me they had to kill me. To be spared in this fight, I had to put water on the second guard so he would be too hot and have to take off his armor. This would fluster guard 1, and I would have to convince him to confess his feelings for guard 2. But of course, I failed a bit at first.
Like, 2, I like you, bro. The way you fight, the way you talk. I love doing team attacks with you. I love standing here with you, bouncing and waving our weapons in sync. 2, I want to stay like this forever.
After his feelings are confessed, they leave and go grab some ice cream. So cute. The next room was dark, but Alphys turned the lights on to reveal another Metaton show. I better get a cut of your income, dude.
Are you serious?
In this mini-game, I am treated as a reporter, and I need to explore this room with limited sight to find something newsworthy.
And it's time for the unboxing video. Let's find out what's inside. It's a bomb. Oh my god.
Yep, they're all bombs. So I have to go around and defuse all of them before they explode in 2 minutes. I successfully defused all of the bombs, but Metaton revealed that the room itself was a bomb and will explode now. But it doesn't, thanks to Dr. Alphys. This was the end of the show, and I escaped into the next room.
Oh my god, that's actually ridiculous. No.
After politely declining their offer, I faced another vent maze, and a few more puzzles.
There we go.
This is when I traveled through the door to a purple room full of spider webs. I was caught in a web and attacked by Muffet. She has a unique combat style where she turns your soul purple, and you must avoid her only by jumping from line to line like a spider.
That was cool. Oh, hell no!
I died shortly after the attack and realized that I was not properly prepared. I grabbed some more hot dogs from Sans and went to give it another try. Or 5. She finally spared me on the 7th attempt after she realized that I was not the person the spiders were looking for. Yeah, no, don't double check or nothing. There's absolutely no escaping Metaton in the underground because I saw a promotion for him and was immediately a guest star on his show. I will admit, the musical number is cute. He presented me with the same puzzle that Papyrus set up for me earlier, but made this one actually challenging. About halfway through, I ran out of time, and Metaton was going to destroy me with his walls of fire. But here to save the day, again, was Dr. Alphys, shutting the firewalls off. After this, Metaton approached me, and I used an upgrade Dr. Alphys gave me to turn my soul yellow. Ooh! This means I can now shoot Metaton's attacks with my heart, which is game-changing. After this fight, I visited Sans to replenish my hot dogs, and he asked me to come talk with him. He explains to me how he understands how bad I want to leave the underground. Then he goes on his personal backstory of how he was hired as a sentry for the king to eliminate humans, but he stumbled upon a door in the woods one day while he was bored, and told it knock-knock jokes, until one day, it knocked back. The person on the other side bonded with Sans over time, and she asked him to make her a promise to protect all humans. That's why he spared me. Then he left. That door he was knocking on belonged to Toriel. The restaurant had a convenient door to access the underground's core, so I continued on. I took the door on the left and ran into a monster named Magic, but was able to be spared after talking with him. Later in the core, I ran into Night Night, which I think is one of the funniest names ever. He spared me after I sang him to sleep. My next challenge was a line of tasers, and after that, Dr. Alphys called me to let me know her maps freaking suck. I decided to go left and had to complete some more puzzles. While trying to cross one of the bridges to the switch I needed, I was approached by a Final Frogget and a Whimsalot combo, and I definitely died the first time, and maybe the second time. On the third attempt, I was able to get past them, until I ran into more monsters like 3 steps down the bridge.
Who are you?
I died again before realizing maybe I needed some more sustenance and ran into this guy.
Buy a star for— oh, that laugh. Keep it to yourself, buddy. Please never do that again.
I got right back into it and died 2 more times. I finally made it to the 3rd row of monsters to the switch, and that certainly did not feel worth it. This is when I took the elevator to this fancy doorway. On the other side was none other than Mettaton. Here he explained to me that Dr. Alphys has been lying to me this entire time. Mettaton never had the desire to kill humans. She just asked him to try and kill me so she could save me and seem like a hero. Mettaton's only goal in life is to entertain. This is when his final show begins and he attacks me for the last time. During this fight, Dr. Alphys phones in and explains that if I flip Mettaton's switch, he will be disabled. I just needed to get him to turn around. So I conned him out and flipped his switch. He freaks out, but instead of the switch disabling Mettaton, it only changed his form, making him stronger.
I'll make your last living moments absolutely beautiful.
And beautiful he is. I continued fighting him, but died many times. The goal of Mettaton's fight is to disable him by shooting his heart with your soul. He shows his heart to you a total of 4 times, but it took me a lot of runs to survive long enough to see all 4 opportunities. I died to Mettaton a total of 15 times. After destroying his last heart, I asked him to spare me one last time, and he does. He's thrilled with the ratings for this fight. Then, fans take turns phoning in to tell Mettaton how much he means to them as the only television host in the underground. He decides that it's better for him to stay here, to keep entertaining his people. How moving. I continued on my path as Alphys followed close behind.
You must be pretty excited about all that, eh? Shut up!
Shut. I'm gonna pull you close. I'm gonna tell you once. Shut yo up.
At the doorway, she finally admits to me that I cannot leave the underground with just my soul as she once promised. I would have to take the king's life so that I could use his soul to cross the barrier. Maybe I should just use yours instead. I was met with a long gray hallway. I followed it down to a house that looked eerily similar to Toriel's. As I walked through the house, I was met with multiple monsters telling me the story of the first human who fell into the underground. Azrael, the king's son, heard the humans call. Over time, Azrael and the human became like siblings. The king and queen treated the human child as their own. Then, one day, the human became very ill. The human died. Azrael, racked with grief, absorbed the human's soul. With the human soul, Azrael crossed through the barrier, back to the village of the humans. There, he found a bed of golden flowers. He carried the human onto it. The villagers saw Azrael holding the human's body. They thought that he had killed the child. Oh no! He was struck with blow after blow. But Azrael did not fight back. Clutching the human, Azrael smiled and walked away. He entered the castle and collapsed. His death spread across the garden. The king and queen had lost 2 children in one night. The humans had once again taken everything from us. Every human who falls down here must die. With enough souls, we can shatter the barrier forever. After that, I entered a long corridor full of light. As I walk down the hallway, I see a familiar face. Here, he re-explains everything the flower told me at the start of the game. XP is execution points, and love is level of violence. But since I took the pacifist route, I didn't gain any XP or love. After the corridor, I entered the throne room and met the king. He led me to a doorway, and on the other side was the barrier. It glowed ominously as the battle was about to begin. There was no chance to spare me now. I actually have to fight him. The first couple times I fought him, I tried speaking to him to reason, but it did not work. It took me about 3 times before I knew I had to fight, and I went back to Asgore's house to grab the worn dagger. I wasn't very good at it at first, but I got a hang of it eventually. I did my best dodging attacks and throwing my own. I got farther with each try, until I dealt my last blow to the king. He started to give me a speech about how his wife was disgusted with his hatred for humans, and how he just wants to be reunited with his son again. He admitted defeat and told me to take his soul across the barrier with me. But I spared him. It's evident here that Toriel is the king's wife, and that explains all of the love she had for me at the beginning. But the king did not see what was behind him, and his soul was shattered. Flowey had killed the king and stole all of the fallen human souls. After this scene, the game crashed immediately, and it seems the game was over. But I opened it back up. My world had been overwritten. Now that Flowey has all of the human souls, he has become the most powerful thing he has always schemed of being. He tells me I can never go back to my old world, and he engages in a battle with me. And I'll just let y'all see this guy for yourself.
I forgot about this guy.
His attacks are meant to be ridiculous and sporadic. Every now and then, one of the human souls attack, and I call out to them for help. Then, they override Flowey and heal me. This pattern repeats for all 6 souls. Unfortunately, I didn't make it through all 6. When I die, the game crashes again, and I have to give it another shot. Once I've cycled through all 6 human souls, the defense drops to 0 for Flowey, and I'm open to attack him. This is where I have to try and defeat him. Once I finally take him down, he reminds me that he is the god of this world, and he resets the save file. He then tried to kill me again. After I called out to help to the human souls one last time, Flowey's powers are disabled, and he can no longer attack me. All of the souls turned on him at this moment. There he was at the end, shriveled and almost lifeless. But you know what we have to do. He keeps threatening me as I spare him 13 times. And now he's gone. After a brief credits intermission, I get a phone call from Sans. He relayed to me that the Queen had come back to rule the Monster Kingdom. All of the monsters are doing the best they can to keep hope. He tells me I shouldn't lose hope either. And of course, I had to speak to Papyrus too. This is when I see Flowey again, and he asked me why I decided to spare everyone.
Don't you realize that being nice just makes you get hurt? Look at yourself. You made all these great friends, but now you'll probably never see them again. Not to mention how much they've been set back by you. Hurts, doesn't it? If you had just gone through without caring about anyone, You wouldn't have to feel bad now. I don't get it. If you really did everything the right way, why did things still end up like this? Why? Is life really that unfair?
He hints to me that I should speak to Undyne. It seems like it's over, but not quite yet.
No, but like, what if she beats me up? I can't have that.
I reloaded the game and paid a visit to Undyne's house. This is when I met Papyrus at the door, waiting to go in with me. Once I'm in Undyne's house, Papyrus makes an excuse to leave us alone, and we are left to chat.
But making friends with Undyne wasn't going to be easy.
After Papyrus comes back, he frames my friendship with Undyne as a challenge, and she's determined to never lose when she is challenged. After her threat, she grabs some tea and sits with me to start spilling her backstory. As a little girl, she always looked up to the king and tried to challenge him one day, but he wouldn't fight back. He did agree to train her, however. Over time, she became the best of the best, and she was placed head of the king's royal guard. But after a while, Undyne realized there was a better way to connect than just talking. Cooking lessons.
Grab me by the hair like you grab the nape of a cat. That's crazy. You punch the vegetables at full force. You knock over a tomato.
Undyne ends up setting her house on fire. In the moment, she concludes she's a failure, and consequently, she can never be my friend. So she needs to kill me. I gave Undyne a pretty miserable punch in the arm, and it was enough to prove to her that I didn't want to hurt her. She gave me words of encouragement regarding facing the king. On the way to Snowdin, I made a quick pit stop to see Napstablook.
I love you, Napstablook. I love you, and I always have. And I always will.
I can't not visit Napstablook when I'm in the neighborhood. Once I got there, I met up with Undyne to deliver a love letter to Dr. Alphys for her. Unfortunately, she forgot to sign it. I went straight to the Hotlands and slid the note under the door. Alphys was already at the door and read the letter right away. She opened the door and saw me standing there and concluded that I must have been the one writing the letters to her.
From Undyne! It's from Undyne! It's from Undyne!
This immediately prompted a date with Alphys. She decided that the best place to go would be the garbage dump.
Yeah, girl.
She admits to hanging out here with Undyne from time to time. To our surprise, Undyne showed up to the dump and demanded I give her the letter back, but it was already too late. I told her Alphys was around and it was enough to get her to go away. This is when Alphys admitted her feelings for Undyne, and we decided that it would be best for Alphys to just confess to her. The only problem is that Alphys has been exaggerating her personality to be different around Undyne, and Alphys has to admit that to her. I agreed to roleplay with Alphys so she could have practice when talking to Undyne, but she ended up screaming her feelings at the top of her lungs, and Undyne was in earshot.
Oh! She's right behind me, isn't she?
Alphys continued to explain to Undyne that she had been uncomfortable with herself and she wants to improve. This is when Undyne confesses some feelings she was hiding and sets Alphys up with Papyrus to get coaching on her self-esteem.
Oh my god. Nah, I'm gonna get Papyrus to do it.
Kinda seems like they should be doing that in their own relationship, but go Papyrus for trying to help. As I was trying to leave the sewers, I got a ring from Papyrus implying that my presence was expected back at the lab. Thanks for dragging me out here and making me have to walk all the way back. Once I got there, the elevator once disguised as a bathroom was accessible. I entered it and pushed the buttons. While I was inside, the elevator had completely lost power and crashed. I was stuck on the eerie-looking part of the lab that nobody else was allowed to see. This floor is titled the True Lab. I walked along the halls and found journal entries by Dr. Alphys. They were all related to this secret experiment she had been doing with the monster souls and human determination. There are 4 rooms scattered around the True Lab that hold a colored switch. Each switch requires a key. To fix the elevator, I needed to find all of the missing keys and flip all of the switches. As I was key searching in the sink, I came across this strange phenomenon. This was one of 5 amalgamates I would come across in the lab. It's a fusion of several monsters melted together. To get past them, I need to figure out what combo of monsters they are and treat it how I would treat each monster separately. They're pretty weird, to say the least. After the sink monster calmed down and spared me, I was able to grab the key he was hiding and insert it into the switch.
Aww.
On the other side of the lab was a room full of golden flowers and mirrors. This room was dedicated to Dr. Alphys's experiment where she injected determination into an entity without a soul, a golden flower. This is where Flowey was made. In this room, I came across the second amalgamate. This one was really freaking creepy, but I was spared.
What is going on? What happened?
Down the next hallway, I came across a room that had appeared to be a spoon showering. I slowly approached, and when I pulled back the curtain, it was just the green key. I kept exploring down the hall and came across a room with a structure that resembles a skull, but this is actually a determination extractor. This is also where I ran into my third amalgamate. This one was relatively easy to get around. In the next room, I came across a TV and a VHS player. Next to it are 5 tapes. I watched all 5 of them. The first is a video Toriel took cracking jokes with Asgore around their excitement for the new baby. The last 4 were Azrael and the fallen human making up a plan to break the barrier using 7 human souls, including the fallen humans. The first fallen human's name is actually Mary, what we tried to name our character in the beginning. I went back to find the yellow key and put it in the switch in the room with the TV set. My next hallway was very foggy, but I made out an entrance to another room. In this room was the green switch. I put the key inside and continued on. Down the opposite side of the hallway was a room lined with fans and a switch at the end to turn them on. I flipped the switch and the fans blew the fog away and the 4th amalgamate appeared. This one resembled the dog's and therefore my favorite. He's kinda gross though.
It's dripping amorphous body on you.
Ew! After plenty of playing and pets, he spares me letting me move on. Now that the fans are on, I take the opportunity to go back to the fogged up room and discover some refrigerators with samples. The fridge on the end housed the 5th amalgamate. This one was very sad and depressing, so I told her some jokes to cheer her up. After I was spared, she dropped the blue key. This was the last one I needed, so I popped it in the switch and hopped on the elevator. I took a left and discovered the grand switch to turn all of the power back on. This is where I was met by some amalgamates, but Alpha stopped them from attacking me and explained what she had been doing in the lab. She injected determination from the captured human souls into wounded monster souls to see if they had potential to live outside of their monster bodies. While the monsters didn't die, the experiment failed. Alphys wanted to see if 7 monster souls could break the barrier just as 7 human souls could. Their physical bodies could not handle the injection and melted into one another, creating amalgamates. Alphys hid this from the king and the public because she was embarrassed for her failed experiment. She realized now that she needed to come clean about the results of the experiment. While back in the elevator, I got a phone call from an unfamiliar number, but it's implied to be Asgore. The elevator I'm in crashed down once again, and I find myself back in Asgore's castle. The exit is blocked off with vines.
Oh.
I made my way through the last corridor for the last time, and I met Asgore again at the barrier.
It seems as though I would have to fight him again. But this time, before his attack, he was knocked back with one. It was none other than Toriel.
This is when Toriel asked me to spare Asgore and live in the underground with them. That way, no one has to die. Toriel is confirmed to be the runaway queen and refuses to go back to Asgore. After that, all of my friends showed up to support me, and we all gathered together. When asked who gathered us here, Papyrus responded that he has been in alliance with a little golden flower. Alphys knows that this is Flowey.
A tiny flower.
Just when I thought it was all over, I was met with Flowey again.
Oh my god, this is not happening. This is not happening.
This time, not only does he have all of the human souls, but he has all of the monster souls too. Just as Flowey is about to end me again, Toriel comes to the rescue and blocks his attack. But Flowey is quick to consume all of the monster souls to use against me. there's only one monster left. If I finally wanted to win, I would have to defeat Azrael. I continued to dodge his attacks and hold out hope that I would win this battle. And every time I died, I got right back up. We went back and forth for a while, and then finally he decided that I need to be finished off. Harnessing all of the power of the souls inside of him, he levels up and attempts to take me down. After rounds of struggling and trying to get away, I realized what I needed to do. I needed to save my friends inside of him. I started calling out to them and trying to get them to remember me. I started with Toriel and Asgore, and after hugging and talking to them, they remembered me. The next two were Papyrus and Sans. I bonded with Papyrus over his spaghetti, and I joked with Sans, and before I knew it, they remembered. Now I have to save Undyne, and after sparring and smiling, she was finally able to remember me. The last soul to save was Dr. Alphys. I did my best to encourage and uplift her. Then I gave her a call on the phone to remind her of all the times she helped me out. And it worked! With almost all the souls saved, there's actually one more. I needed to call out to Azrael, so he would remember how good humans could be to him. His childhood with the first fallen human showed on screen, and he remembered. He resisted my attempt at getting him to stop attacking, and he did his best to finish me off, but my determination was too strong. I continued to call out to him. He finally gave in to my calls, and he spoke with me. He realized that I was not the first fallen human that he had bonded with, and we introduced ourselves. He gives me an apology for everything he's done, and he asked me for forgiveness, and I gave it to him. He then explains he cannot hold this form much longer with all of the souls inside of him, but with everyone's power together, he was able to break the barrier. Before Azrael was gone, I gave him a comforting hug. I woke up to text saying that it was all a bad dream. Toriel begged me to wake up, and I did, surrounded by all of my friends, unharmed. Toriel explains to me that the barrier is broken and that we can all cross through together. We were met with a gorgeous sunrise. All of the monsters were in awe over the beauty. Toriel asked me if I had anywhere to go back to now that I am free from the underground. I told her that I did not, and that I wanted to stay with her. And that is the pacifist ending in Undertale. This video was so fun to make, but it was so time consuming. So if you enjoyed this video until the end, make sure that you are subscribed and like this video. Thank you guys so much for your support so I can continue to make content like this. Have a good night.